Welcome to Fox Encounter. I am your host, Fox. Please consider taking a few seconds to subscribe, drop a like on the video, and share it with your friends. Stay tuned for more content and enjoy the episode.
And now, suspense.
So I wanted to talk about, we mentioned Killers of the Flower Moon. Another trend of things that I've been seeing too, that maybe it's just I'm getting old or my attention span isn't what it used to be, but Killers of the Flower Moon is 3.5 hours long. And
it is? Nice.
After sitting through The Irishman, which we had talks about, I don't think I can give Scorsese 3.5 hours of my life anymore. Not after The Irishman. I got so much heat for talking shit about The Irishman.
I think The Irishman is that's his weakest film of the last decade. I give him that. I think The Irishman is probably one of his weaker films in the last decade because he did He did Shutter Island, Wolf of Wall Street, Silence, and then I think The Irishman, all from 2010 to 2019.
Silence was really good. That's one of the, I feel like people are super underappreciated.
It came out 2016, right? It just went under the radar.
Yeah, no one watched it, and which is a shame because I remember when I first saw it, I was like, "This movie's incredible." Garfield and Adam Driver and Liam Neeson. No one talked about it, and I thought that movie was fantastic.
I got rewatched. I haven't seen it since it came out.
Yeah, and it was great. And Shutter Island, I also didn't care for only because here's my thing about mystery movies. Once I figure out what's going on, I lose interest automatically.
They projected that twist way too early. Was the issue. They
with
telegraphed
Shutter Island, I called it 10 minutes in, and I was like, okay. And so I watched the rest of the movie, and I was like, I don't ever want to watch that again.
I think I like it a lot, but I think the issue is, I think what we talked about was if it came out in the 70s or 80s, I probably would have killed.
Definitely.
But it just kind of too predictable at points, especially when. But it was too predictable at points. So that became an issue where you're especially when they start talking about you have another patient that you don't know about and blah blah blah. I'm like, oh, it's Leo.
Whoa. Here I come. Oh, here I come. Oh,
Leo's crazy. I didn't think he was going to be the guy who killed his wife. But then once he started having flashbacks about his wife on fire, I'm like, okay, it was you who killed your wife then, right? Then the way it ends with it being I think it was supposed to end with you're supposed to kind of pseudo guess, is he actually crazy or whatever? But it points more so that, it was mostly in his head. I will say this. I think we do agree on this though. When it comes to his movies, they are definitely very well-made movies. Irishman's a good-looking movie, and I think it had a good hook for the first hour. But then once it starts getting to the Jimmy Hoffa stuff, I found it really, really, really uninteresting.
Yeah, that's what we talked about.
It started off so strong.
Yeah, it really did.
And then after an hour and a half, you're like, oh, this is just about Jimmy Hoffa. I want to see this dude's life in the mob more.
Because I think I remember telling you that it took me 3 days to finish it. Because I was like, damn, man. At least after an hour or so, I was just like, whoa, this is really dragging. And I lost interest. I lost interest for a bit, and then I paused it and had to go do something. So I turned it off. Tried to come back to it the next day, but I was like, I don't think I have it in me.
I can't do it.
It was such a chore to get through, man. I never want to feel like that. I never want to feel like it's a chore to get through something. And The Irishman was I've definitely felt that. And then the whole I trashed on the whole de-aging thing, which isn't bad.
Right.
The de-aging on their face looks good. It's just their movements was so
robotic.
No, please. No, please. Oh, no,
the movements was so stiff and
they're 80, so it makes sense.
Yeah,
but
I'm like, why couldn't you
40 in that moment? But
yeah, I'm like,
that makes. That's one thing I didn't like. I wish they would have done a body double because they did do that before. They did it in Iron Man 3 because Robert Downey Jr.'s arm was up, so he couldn't do a lot of the scenes. They literally put his face on another actor for most of the movie.
I didn't know that.
Didn't know that, right? There's also another reason why I think he was in the suit a lot was to do that, and they also did that view of his visor or whatever a lot too.
Yeah,
was because he was injured, so for half of the shoot. So they CGI'd him onto another actor's body to do a lot of those actual stunts.
Or that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah,
or I mean,
a body, or like in Hollywood, they use a stunt double that looks like him and just use camera angles to hide.
The other thing that I was thinking of was like, did it have to be, with all due respect to Al Pacino and Robert De Niro, did it really have to be them?
No.
Couldn't they have just hired actors to play their younger parts? Like,
that's what I think about. I think they should have stayed the older characters. Like towards the end of the movie when they're like old as dirt, let it be them. But yeah, they just wish they had younger counterparts.
Yeah, because like that took me out of it. Yeah, that took me out of it like completely.
Yeah, or just have different actors in general. So Scorsese has a thing where he'll find actors he likes. He just keeps using them. He's done 6 movies with Leo now, 5 movies with Leo.
I think that's why it felt too more of like a vanity project than an actual telling of Jimmy Hoffa and stuff. Because a lot of it is just speculation.
No one actually knows what happened, and I think it was based off the book. But then there's this guy on Old Mob Boss, Michael Franchise. Have you seen him?
I think so. Yeah,
he was a capo, and he's actually mentioned in Goodfellas. It's kind of funny, but he's a legit mob guy, and even he's like, yeah, none of that happened. He's like, that's not true.
I felt like I didn't know jack about Jimmy Hoffa. Like they make this whole story based around him, yet I went out of The Irishman not knowing a single thing about Jimmy Hoffa or why he was killed and why killing him mattered in the grand scheme of like the Teamsters thing and the whole political thing. I had no idea. Like, okay, so this guy had to go, cool, but why?
I believe he was also I think it was causing too much of a ruckus or something. And I don't remember. I can't remember. I've seen the movie twice and I just can't remember. Yeah, I watched it when it came out and I watched it again like a year ago. And still, I enjoy it just because I enjoy a lot of Scorsese movies. Like even his bad ones I enjoy. Like, but this one I'm kind of like, as far as his like modern films go, it's definitely his weakest. Wolf of Wall Street. That's a good one.
Somebody actually on Instagram, he asked me about, are you gonna watch Killers of the Flower Moon, because it's like has a lot of a lot of Native American stuff in it. Here's my thing about, and the reason I bring this up is because he specifically mentioned it because I am Native, and he's like, are you gonna watch it? You know what I mean? Like not in an offensive way, so like he's a friend of mine, and so he asked me about it and was like legitimate about like, hey, what do you think about this? Because there is Native representation in it. Like, what do you think about it? And I told him my honest opinion was, one, the 3.5 hour runtime is like, it's not doing it for me. I don't know if I can dedicate that much time. And the other thing about it was, I'm honestly tired of seeing movies with Native American background, like characters, with white protagonists. If the main focus is not Native Americans, then it doesn't appeal to me. And I don't know how the film is, but the trailers and everything make it seem like Leo is the main character. And
he's
I'm like,
the biggest guy in the movie, though.
Then that makes sense. With that also is like, well, I don't care. It feels, and I don't like using this word, but it feels like white savior-ish.
Oh yeah, when I see it, I'll let you know. But I think it's marketed that way just because, Leonardo DiCaprio. But also since it's 3.5 hours, the natives definitely got to play a bigger role.
And it could be good. I really hope it's good.
Yeah,
but
we'll find out.
I'll
find out. I'll let you know.
Yeah. my initial appeal for it just isn't there yet.
It could be just marketing because it's Leonardo DiCaprio, so why wouldn't you market him? But so we got to find out. With it being 3.5 hours long, I'm curious of like, is it just Leo, or isn't it based on a true story too? Right? Didn't that actually happen? Semi. Yeah. Okay. It's like based off of a book that's based off of the events. That's retold. It's one of those situations. So it's kind of like Goodfellas shit, probably, where it's like changes every piece of media. It just changes. Like, you had a whole movie where you all got to kill the predator. What are you talking about?
That's one.
That was.
I recently rewatched that one. It was pretty fun. But even then, people try to downplay it, like, "Oh, she wouldn't have been able to kill the predator." It's like, dude, the predator is a fictional character. Like, why are we arguing this?
Honestly,
like, that's just so funny.
Outside of the first 2 Predator movies, none of them are really that good anyway. That one's definitely was a pretty good one. Yeah,
it's just so funny. Like, I love like arguing with people about like stuff like that. I mean, I think the last like argument I had with somebody was about I can't remember what it was, but I think it was like a comic book movie. It was most likely a comic book movie where I just couldn't suspend my disbelief that much. I was like, all right, I'm okay with like talking animals and this and that, but like there's a point where we get to like, all right, this doesn't make sense.
Was it Guardians 3 or something?
I don't remember. It might have been Guardians, but Yeah, Guardians 3 was also weird. I thought it was really dumb. Just that main focus on it's been out long enough to where people should have already seen it. Yeah, I told you about like the whole like Gamora is still alive, how and why they never explain it. Somebody tried to explain it to me, and I was like, that doesn't make any sense, bro. Like, how is that possible?
Wasn't she pulled from the 2014 movie?
Yes. Okay, so the reason why the reason why she's not with the Guardians and doesn't remember Quill and their romance or whatever is because she's the 2014 version of that one.
Right.
But why is it that everybody, including Nebula from 2014, was sent back after the snap, but for a reason Gamora wasn't?
I guess because they didn't perceive her as an enemy or something. Wasn't it like all of Thanos?
Yeah, but Iron Man didn't know her.
Oh, that's true.
Iron Man did the snap to bring everybody back and send Thanos' people back to wherever the hell they were from, right?
So why wouldn't she included?
So why would Gamora still there when Tony Stark never met her? She doesn't know who the f*** this green chick is.
Okay, but think about that. That actually doesn't make any sense.
That's a good point.
He knows who Nebula is because she's been working with them.
And Nebula, the typical Marvel writing, it
was like, it was so stupid. I had to post about it on Instagram. Like,
I forgot
Guardians of the Galaxy 3, the story of why Gamora's there is stupid and doesn't make sense, and you cannot argue that it makes sense. It's not. I haven't heard a valid argument.
This is why I've been sticking to mainly anime and manga, because their writing and stories are way more interesting. Anything the West is putting out, man. Like, seriously.